September 3rd meeting of the Syracuse Citizen Review Board. We have a quorum, and I'm opening the meeting. I'm Peter McCarthy, the board chair. We have enough board members in attendance. If you can't see the names, Dana, would you be ready to correct me? We have Lori Nilsson, Cliff Ryan, Cynthia Brunson, Hatisha Holmes just signed on. Cliff Ryans is on. Ruth Coots is on. May Carter, I believe, is on. And Dana. And we have Roberto, our administrative assistant, and a non-board member named Andrew Spink. Did I cover everybody?
Dan is trying to sign on. He seems to be having some technical difficulties, but he is just advised.
Okay, great. Okay, to start with approval of the August meeting minutes. Everybody had the minutes in your email. I'd like a motion to approve. Someone make that motion. Lori makes the motion. Could I have a second? Cliff seconds it. Any discussion or questions of the August meeting minutes? If none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor? Raise your hands.
Aye.
Ruth and May and Hatisha.
Well, I wasn't there, so I abstain.
Okay.
May, agree with the minutes.
Hatisha?
Can you? I approve.
Okay. We have one abstention. Everybody else approved. In the chairperson's report, the first item is a letter we got from Chief Buckner. This has to do with sort of the ongoing discussions we're having with the police department and the Corporation Council and our lawyer working out communications and timing issues. So Renette, can you give us a quick summary of what that letter is about?
So the part that was changed from the previous executive order that we received states that first it says, I am writing in response to the Mayor Walsh's executive order, Syracuse Police Reform effective June 19, 2020, to make you aware of our commitment to fulfill item 12. The Syracuse Police Department, SPD, affirms our commitment to ensure the flow of documents and information as embodied in local law number 11. One moment. The SPD further commits to making no final decision on discipline of an officer or officers until the chief of police has received the results of both the Office of Professional Standards investigation and the CRB recommendations of the same complaint. In addition, the chief of police will provide the CRB a letter of explanation if the decided discipline falls to a level lower than is recommended by the CRB. As you are aware, Corporation Counsel and the CRB's outside counsel are currently discussing ways in which the timelines and the ordinance could be adjusted to reflect pragmatic operational realities. Those discussions reflect the parties' consensus based on past experience that additional time is sometimes required to allow both sides to complete a thorough and effective investigation. The parties also understand, however, that any proposed revisions will not permit delays, which prevent discipline from being imposed within the 18 months deadline provided by the New York State Civil Service Law. Indeed, it is our belief that such revisions will actually serve to speed up investigations by increasing efficiency. Ultimately, any changes to the ordinance would need to be presented and approved by the Common Council, but I am hopeful that SPD and the CRB will agree on a process that works for all the stakeholders. The SPD commits to being compliant with any revisions going forward. Regards, Chief Kenton Buckner.
Okay,
Letter is dated August the 14th, 2020, so it was a revised letter.
it's a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's an indication we have made some progress on some of the issues that we've been working on with the department. Any questions about that? Other comments? Thank you. I'd like to announce we still have a vacancy on the CRB, the position that is the second district counselor's position. It's been over 60 days, and so it's now the CRB's prerogative to recommend an appointee to the Common Council. So if anyone has someone in mind, would they please get in touch with me and/or Renette so that we can fill that position. 2020 board terms. Oh, Cynthia, did you want to say something? Unmute.
Would it be safe to say that counselor that represents that district has not reached out to you already?
Renette did have a discussion with him a while ago, and he said that he wanted to find someone from within his council district if possible. That's not required, but most counselors try to do that. So he is trying to do that, but he as yet has not come up with a nominee.
Thank you.
Okay, board terms. Let me talk about officers for just a second before I forget. I did look up the vice chair terms question. Since, as I brought up a couple of months ago, the board chair is limited to 2 terms, or 2 one-year terms. Officers' terms are 1 year. I am not eligible, so we did talk about a nominee for that. Hatisha is not limited in the number of terms. There is no limit in the bylaws or the legislation that I could find to the vice chair's number of terms. So I'm going to suggest that we have our board officer election in October. And so we make sure that we know we're filling the chair as well as the vice chair and the secretary. All of those are 1-year terms, and there is a limit only on the chair's term. Lori?
I would suggest that our bylaws say that we shall elect its chair at the first meeting of the calendar year.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, is that what it says?
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
Okay.
Yep. I was going to say that. Thank you, Lori, that
Yep.
we have to do it. So we have to kind of have everything in place beginning in December in terms of the thoughts and things of that nature should be happening. So then January 1, we are voting on new officers.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So that's why I brought it up early, so we made sure we're ready.
Yep.
In terms of the board terms, board members are eligible to serve 2 3-year terms. And I went through and read in the legislation, a partial term does not count. So
Right.
what if many of us started as replacements for somebody in partway through somebody's term. And the language says, if a person is appointed to complete the unexpired term of a board member, the newly appointed member shall be eligible to serve 2 successive 3-year terms. So I came in May of 17. The remainder of that year was a partial term. So I'm finishing my first full 3-year term at this point. Last year, we put together the summary sheet that has people's contact information and the dates of their initial terms on it. And that indicates that the following 3 people are finishing 3-year terms in December. And those are me, Peter McCarthy, Dana Natale, and Ruth Coots. according to what I see on the sheet, none of those have served 2 3-year terms. So please, if you have any comments about this, but my understanding is what we've done in the last couple years is we have notified those board members that if they want to serve another term, they should contact whoever it was that appointed them. So for instance, it would be up to me to contact the mayor. It would be up to Dana to contact the 1st District Council, and it would be up to Ruth to contact the 4th District Councilor. And also,
Peter?
please let me and Raynette know. Yes, who spoke?
Ruth?
It's Ruth. I did that already. I forgot a year or 2 ago. I contacted him and he supposedly, reappointed me.
So the way it works is unless they reappoint someone else in your place or you resign, you stay on the next term. So if in fact they do not appoint somebody else for the people whose term ends in December of 2020, then you will stay on the board. But if the council decides to reappoint or the mayor's office decides to appoint someone else, they can. You can either be reappointed, you can resign, or they can appoint someone new to take your place. So you should be in contact with the person who has appointed you to see whether or not they intend to reappoint you or not, and express that you would like to be reappointed. Either way, but that is how it works. Dan?
I'm assuming that since Steve Thompson appointed me, that his successor would be the person I contact, right?
Well, the way it works is that not particularly one counselor, terms of at large, appoint a person at large. It should be the 3 of them coming together with a consensus with regard to that appointment. So yes, in fact, you are an at large appointee. So therefore, yes, the successor, not just of Steve Thompson, but the successor in terms of all the at large appointees would need to be talked to. So you should talk to every at large counselor to express that you want to be reappointed.
Okay, Renette, this is Ruth. Did you hear me?
Yes.
When I said that 1 or 2 years ago, somehow this came up. And I talked to Khalid and he agreed to reappoint me, and I assume did.
Well, he did because he did not replace you.
Oh, I see. He didn't directly, though.
We have not received any new legislation, but you were not replaced and no one was reappointed in your place. No one was appointed in your place. So that's how you were able to stay on.
Mm-hmm.
Raynette, am I correct? Oh, go ahead, Ruth.
So do I need to talk to him again?
I would encourage you to talk to him again and express what you would like, what your plans are related to the board. If you want to continue and things of that nature, I would think that it would be a good time, considering everything that's going on related to oversight. I think it would be a good time to make sure that we are all in touch with with your appointed people to express what you desire moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Ruth, if our chart is correct, you are finishing a 3-year term, 18, 19, and 20. So I'm not sure when Councilor Rudd might have reappointed you, but that's the information we have.
She's a 4th District appointee, so it would be Councilor Bay who had appointed her at the time. So now she would have to reach out to Councilor Allen about her appointment, because that is now the counselor that is over the 4th District.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Renette, it seems to me that I remembered last year or so, we decided or determined that people who were starting a new term were supposed to be sworn in again. Is that correct?
I did not receive the only clarification that I received was just that no reappointment was you only were dissolved of your post if you were replaced or you resigned. That's the information that I got. I did not get any sort of definition that said that they had to be sworn in again because they were starting a new term. So the answer would be,
Okay.
based upon that, I don't think they need to be sworn in again if they've already been sworn once.
Okay, so if each of the three of us want to continue, we should contact the people that appoint us, but then nobody has to do anything. Is that correct?
Correct. You just express your intent.
Okay. All right. I'd like to bring up in relation to board and officer appointments, the proposed election procedure that I sent to people today. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. A few people sent me back some questions, and some people seem to feel like it's more complicated than it needs to be, and what we have is working. Basically, and that's fine with me if that's what the board feels. What we did for a nominee for chair, because I felt like we should make sure well ahead of time that people who knew who the upcoming chair was going to be, is we asked Cynthia, who is the board recruitment chair, or committee rather, to ask around and talk to board members and select a nominee that she would recommend for chair. So essentially, my proposal says that that's the process we should use. We should select someone to essentially take nominations, make sure, and my intention is to make sure that everybody has input. I might be overreacting, but I spent a long time on a board that was pretty dysfunctional in a lot of ways. And we had one chair that used to pull some real sneaky stuff, like put something on an agenda and get a couple of their friends to support it and kind of ram things through without notice. So that's what I wanted to do, was to have some kind of a process other than just to have nominations at a meeting. So the proposal I sent is CRB will designate a member or members, I don't know if it should be one or two or three, to present nominations to the board with the election to be held at a specific CRB meeting. They will announce to the board that they are receiving all comments or suggestions by a specified date. They may receive suggestions by email, phone call, or in person. At the meeting specified for the election, the nominators will present the name they have chosen. They may present more than one name if appropriate, and other nominations may come from CRB members. That and Hatisha rewrote it a little bit. I think the intention was the same with a little bit simpler wording. So I'm not going to make a motion yet. I'm going to throw this open for discussion. If people think what we have working, what we have essentially leaves it up to the chair to do something to come up with nominees, or nominations could come up in a meeting. So I'm open to any thoughts that people have on this.
Was it Hatisha or Lori who wrote that other suggestion?
Hatisha wrote back with a suggestion. Both Lori and Hatisha wrote back. I'm sorry, Lori was one. I misread the email thread. Thank you. Lori suggested some language that seems a little simpler.
That sounded good. I mean, it was simpler and it was clear.
I think it is really clear. I'm going to read that. At the CRB meeting prior to elections, the chair shall announce the election of chair, vice chair, and secretary will be held at our next meeting. If a board member wants to nominate someone for any of these offices, they should contact blank via email, text, or phone call or in person At the election meeting, blank will announce nominees and ask for other nominations. Keisha, did you have a comment? You said something in the email about maybe we should just leave it the way it is.
Yeah, so I was just saying that the more we talk about it, the more it seems like we should just keep it as normal. We have a great board. I have yet to meet somebody who was undermining or trying to it just seems like I understand your history, but to bring that on us is like it almost changes it a little bit the more I think about it. It puts us, I don't know, it just makes me think a little bit in a negative light, like because your other boards were negative, we haven't been such, and to make changes to based on your history and not ours. That was it.
Any other comments?
I agree with Keisha. If it's not broke, don't fix it. This is May.
I'm sorry, Meg. What did you say?
I said if it's not broken, fix it.
Okay, unless anybody objects, I'm going to withdraw the proposal and essentially leave the procedure in the hands of the chair since nothing is specified.
Sounds good.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we have the administrator's report.
Hi, everyone. It seems like it's been forever since I've been able to touch you guys, but these meetings have been going well. So thanks for your patience thus far. Related to my report, so far in the month of August, we did receive a total We received a total of 9 complaints in the month of August. Some complaints were filed by the same person, but a total of 9 complaints in the month of August that we are continuing to investigate. We are going to review a total of 9 cases in executive session. And our monthly financial report was emailed out to you so you could see the new financial report for 2021. So you have that in your email. We have received 3 resumes with regard to interns from SU from the political science internship course with Professor Reeder. We were going to originally accept 2 interns from that program, but we have since received word that one of them has accepted another appointment. Those resumes were sent over to Peter, Hatisha, and Roberto was in on the conversation as well in terms of data collection. So he was in on that, and because he has to actually, be in the office with the intern as well. So I sent the necessary information out to 1 intern, and as soon as I get a full acceptance related to that, I'll then forward you all of his information. But so far, it looks good. Just as a backdrop, we had 2 on point for college interns this past summer. Most of you were able to see them come into August's meeting or July's meeting when they first began. They are now in college and doing that. So we no longer have those interns. So I wanted to give you guys that update. There is another, currently every few days, I am continuing to do the online training through NACO that is being offered. And as soon as I'm able to get the recording, I should be able to share that along with you guys so that you can review it as well. There is another, and hopefully based upon our Department of Justice grant through the police department where we were guaranteed $5,000. We may be able to get reimbursed for, I'm looking to get us reimbursed for those training expenses for my internal affairs investigations training that was online, this NACO training. And I wanted to know about every year in the month of December, I typically go to Connecticut and attend the Use of Force Summit through Dago Law Group. And this year they are holding it remotely. And I wondered if I wanted to know if there could be a motion that is made for me to attend that training remotely as well. And the cost is usually for the registration is about $650. And this year the registration is $395. And we won't have any travel expenses and we won't have any hotel expenses and things of that nature. And we would also seek the reimbursement from the JAG grant with regard to that as well. And we should be well under the $5,000. So if we could get a motion related to me to attend the Use of Force Summit by Dago Law Group. I'm going to unmute Dana so she could get the motion.
I move that we approve the fund for Rena to attend the Dago Law Seminar.
And I second that.
All right, I think you guys still have to vote, right?
Okay, any further discussion of that? Or questions? Okay, all in favor, if you're on screen, please raise your hand. Everyone I can see is in favor. Ruth and May?
I'm in favor also.
Left the meeting.
Nope, she's still there. Okay, so Ruth and then May, did you vote?
I don't see May.
Yeah, I think May might have signed off. Okay. All
Okay,
right.
so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in favor.
Okay, great. And then I'll talk about the rest during the committee reports for the other things that we've had going on. And just as a quick piggyback, the development that we're going to have on Saturday with Bob Stewart, that is also going to be paid through the JAG grant. Just so you know that's going to be reimbursed. The amount that it's costing for us to have him is going to be reimbursed through that JAG grant while we were talking about that. Yes, Dan?
After all the controversy, it's my understanding now that the Saturday meeting is 1 to 3. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
We'll talk about that in the committee reports, but I wanted to mention the funding source so that we can make sure we're all on the same page. Okay.
Is that everything, Renette?
Yes.
Okay. Committee reports, community outreach and public education.
So throughout this summer, we have had a little bit of a struggle doing community outreach, considering COVID is alive and well in the Syracuse community. So we have been trying alternate ways to do some outreach. So starting this month, I have been attending and Roberto has been assisting with regard to stuffing bags that are given out through M. Blanca. And we've so far been to the Westmoreland Park, the Huntington Family Center on the west side. On tomorrow, it is going to be at Evangelical Church of God in Christ on Salinas Street. And then the last one, I could not remember where that one's going to be at, but we have done it so far every Friday in September, and we have been able to give away our materials and answer any questions if people have them, but typically it's in a bag with a bunch of other resources. I have also been attending the walks with the mayor, the police chief, neighborhood and business development, and other department heads throughout the city. So far, we've gone to the north side and we went to the east side most recently. So we've been handing out materials at that point. So that is our way of trying to make sure that every side of town has material related to the CRB. So that's how we've been trying to get it together. I know I've mentioned that I would like us to do some sort of march and pass out some materials and things of that nature. And I know Cliff said that he would be happy to do that march with us, but I did not get any more board members to kind of sign on or any particular date that seemed to work for us to do that. So I want to throw that back out there again. We know the snow will come at some point in time. And given the state of the community and things of that nature, I think it would be beneficial for us to do some sort of march or something together so that people can see all the members of the board. So throwing that back out there again. That's all I have for community outreach and education.
I don't think I understand what you mean.
I just feel like it would be good to show, come out with a banner, come out with our banner and do some sort of walk in some sort of neighborhood. You know what I mean? Passing
Just
out
us?
material. Yeah, just us as a
Okay.
board. Doing
All right.
something of that nature, just kind of promoting the fact that here we are, we're continuing to do the work and just all together do it. It doesn't have to be a, very long march. We can pick one of the, core streets in that particular side of town and do something like that. I just think that it would be beneficial for us to do something.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'll do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd be happy to try and do that. Do you want to send out a couple of possible dates?
So I'll
Yeah,
have
I'll
some
just give
dates
you-
together for Friday. On Saturday when we get ready to meet up and we'll all be together. And so we'll toss around a few dates on that date, but I just want to make sure that, it's good to have it out there in the community during our public meetings so people know when they see us, why we're out there and what we're doing. So thank you. All right.
Okay, board developments and training. So yeah, this Saturday, 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the atrium.
Yeah, so we should be able to be spaced out. And masks can be worn and things of that nature. Because it's only from 1 to 3, I don't see any refreshments other than some drinks. And if somebody wants to bring a cookie tray, but then again, you got to think about those COVID restrictions for sharing. So, bring your own snack when we have our training on Saturday. So currently the city has a moratorium on overtime. Okay. So therefore departments cannot occur overtime paid out of their budget. So based upon us having this meeting on this coming Saturday from 1 to 3, it is a cost to the maintenance department or the building department of $100 for overtime. So what we would need to do is take a vote to transfer funds from the CRB to the maintenance department or the building facilities department, or I'm sorry, I don't know the proper term, to cover that $100 for the overtime fee for that. But we do have the money in the budget. That would not be reimbursable under the JAG grant, but we would have enough funds under our training budget to cover $100. So we would need to have another motion to cover the overtime fees for the building management or maintenance department for our training on Saturday.
Thank you. So Dan made the motion, Dana seconded. Any further discussion of that motion to transfer $100 to facilities? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Ruth said aye, so I think that's everybody.
All right, so please make sure, Dana, indicate that in there, so then when they look for how we're going to do that, we've got that covered, and they can see that the board has allocated the funds. Thank you. Please be on time. Please arrive about 12:45 at the latest and be on time so we can start promptly. I have also already sent you an email with 2 documents, part 1 and part 2. That reading should be done prior to Saturday's meeting, so we're all prepared to discuss that information. So please, please, please read that material before Saturday. Cynthia? You got something?
That's too much reading for me. You sent me 2 emails, one with 35 pages and the other one with 47.
Well, we never said being on the board was going to be easy. And we did say that there are going to be some outside reading as a training requirement. So we're well within our training requirement, considering we did not have training in March. So, and we're not having an 8-hour training. So I think that, it would be in our best interest to take that time between now and Saturday before 12:45 to read the material so that we can have educated conversations with our presenter who we're spending $650 to attend that training. So I think that it would be beneficial.
I'll do my best.
Thank you so much. That's all I ask. Thank you.
Okay, so just to review, so we're all clear, 1 o'clock, the atrium. Please bring a mask and prepare to maintain appropriate social distancing. And sounds like it would be best if we all just bring our own snacks. That way it's snacks and drinks. Are we going to supply any drinks for that, or should we just bring stuff?
Nope. I suggest that we just bring our own drink that should be able to last you for 3 hours. We will provide a restroom so that you can utilize that. So just, but any other refreshments, I don't want to have any sort of issues related to sharing.
Right, and it's 2 hours, 1 until 3, correct?
Yeah, 2 hours, 1 to 3. Yes, 2.
Okay, any further questions about the training on Saturday?
And the atrium is held in the same building that our office is in. City Hall Commons, it's the glass building that's outside. That one.
Which door is going to be open, do you know?
I'm not sure. I most likely think it's going to be that far one that's kind of near the square part. When you come around, I think it's probably that one. So we're not really entering the city building. Yep. But close. Yes, I believe it's going to be that one.
The one close to City Hall? That end?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Not the street, but the one that's kind of in the square kind of part.
And parking meters are free on Saturday. Is that correct?
Yes. So if you have your handicap sticker, bring your handicap sticker. There are 2 parking spaces right there in the front that should allow you to take care of that. For short walking distances.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it. I know we all really appreciated last time Bob spoke to us. Government relations.
So we had we had our monthly meeting with the police chief, corporation counsel, our attorney, members of the Office of Professional Standards. Lori attended that meeting. Dana attended the meeting. Peter attended the meeting. And I'll just kind of go from there and have you guys talk about it if you have any comments.
Which one was that, the other day?
Nope, not the other day. The
Tuesday.
The larger meeting
with March.
Tuesday.
It was September 17th, and the chief was there. And I think a couple of council members were there for a while.
Yes, so yes, Councilor Majoke was there. Councilor Rudd was there. And I believe, I'm not sure, I can't remember if Counselor Driscoll was there or not.
Don't think so.
But I think Rudd and Majoke was there. Lieutenant Izzo was there for the Office of Professional Standards and the rest of the board members. So if you want to talk about that.
Well, it definitely wasn't September 17th, being that today is only the 3rd.
Hold on, that's a typo on my behalf.
Oh, maybe that's the next one. Thank you, Cynthia.
Yeah, that's the next one. The last one. Thank you, Cynthia. The last one was on August the 19th. Sorry. It was August the 19th at 2:00.
Okay, I don't think I was at that one.
All right. So I have you on here.
Yeah, Lori and Dana were both there because I remember I sent a note to the two of you asking.
Oh,
I
after,
thought I
that's
was
right. Yep, I
being
remember
too
now.
pushy with the cops.
I remember. Yes, you were. They all kind of run together for me. Quite a few meetings lately.
I did make a note of one thing.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Lori, were you talking?
No, go ahead.
I had asked Dana and Lori for their opinions whether I was pushing too hard on the one issue that I have not been willing to let go of, which is that we've never gotten an answer about whether there are cases still at Office of Professional Standards that we've never seen. And no one's ever answered that question. But Kristen Smith, the Corporation Counsel, did say at that meeting, and I wrote it down when she said it, that Office of Professional Standards is undergoing a thorough and complete audit that should give us an answer to that question. So I look forward to hearing a report on that audit. I'm not sure who's doing it or what their timeline is, but since she stated that it's being done, I will ask again. Other than that, I thought it was a productive meeting. I think we are moving forward with the issues that started raising a year or so ago with the department, and in a relatively cooperative manner, we're working through some of the issues, particularly about timing and the responsibilities of the Office of Professional Standards. And I think they are definitely more forthcoming than they have in the past. Other thoughts about that meeting?
I agree with you, Peter. It was a good meeting. I think we spent way too much time trying to figure out why our numbers didn't match up. I think that we're not going to have that answer sitting remotely in a meeting trying to figure out why they have 43 and we have 44 or vice versa.
Right.
But I also understand the push to want to know that answer. I think the fact that they've increased the number of staff in ops and they've also changed the staff that are in there is a real positive move. I think Lieutenant Izzo is very receptive, and certainly wants to cooperate as much as she can. So I'm looking forward to that relationship between her and Renette. That's about it for me.
Dana, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Can I talk? Oh, I was typing. No, I'm just saying one of the comments they made was that it's very difficult to prove a negative, that we don't know what we don't have. They really kind of want us to understand they're not deliberately withholding anything, and they were the same as we are. We're all looking forward to the outcome of the audit to see if there is something missing. But I think it was important to understand that they really are asserting that they're not withholding anything deliberately. And that's all.
Okay. Go ahead, Renette.
So there has been questions related to numbers. So give me just 1 second and I'm going to say it out loud so we have that. 1 second. Roberto was kind enough to go through are cases from 2019 through 2020, providing us with the information. Give me just 1 second.
I was gonna have you put some more drink in there.
So give me 1 second. I'm sorry. My computer's going haywire for a moment.
I'll make a comment while you're looking. So, I think Dana or Lori referred to the numbering of the cases is a problem to try to match up, because they do get some cases that we never see. If they see an internal report from an officer, we never see that. That's not a citizen review board case. So Raynette and Lieutenant Itzo have had some discussions about how to make the two numbering systems match up so that going forward, we will be able to account for all the cases and make sure that all cases get reported both ways, even though they end up with a different number of cases than we do.
All right. So for the year of 2017, the CRB received 74 cases that were initiated in our office. So they started in our office from the beginning. And the Office of Professional Standards had 44 cases. So, and in 2018, the CRB received 64 cases initiated in its office, and 19 were initiated in the Office of Professional Standards. In 2019, 62 cases were initiated in the CRB office, and 38 cases were initiated in the Office of Professional Standards. In 2020, 14 cases so far have been initiated in the CRB office, and 12 have been initiated in the Office of Professional Standards. If we look at the statistics related to that, that means that in 2017, the total number of cases filed by civilians was 118. In 2018, the total number of cases was 80. In 2016, the total was 109. And in 2020, so far, we have 31 total cases between the two departments. And if we wanted to go further back to 2015, there were a total of 74 cases in 2015. So 2015, a total of 74 cases altogether. 2016, 109. 2017, 118. 2018, 80. 2019, 100. And so far in 2020, we have 31 cases. All right. There have been some questions related to what the CRB report means by processing. So say last year we had 100 cases total for the year, and we processed 50. That means that 50 cases went through the process, meaning the board voted to either send it to a hearing, the board voted to no hearing, or we closed it for lack of contact or lack of jurisdiction. One of those reasons are the reason how we got to the number of processed cases. There were some questions as to how we got there. How can we say we received 100 cases, but we only processed 50? And so I had to explain that process means going through the CRB process. So, and there are also, in that meeting came up with some questions about recommendations. The recommendations that the CRB has made to SPD, and how SPD has taken the CRB recommendations and integrated them into the policy. So there may be a time for which a report is going to be drafted related specifically to policy and training recommendations, so that people can see where the CRB recommendation was inserted into the SPD policy, so that we may provide some more clarification. That was thrown out at the meeting. As you know, right now, we typically just we provide our recommendations that we've been making since 2013, 2015 in the report and our new recommendations. And we state that there's a discussion that has occurred between the CRB and the department. And, you know, some of our recommendations or thoughts have been made in their respective areas, but is not specific enough. So there's some conversations about how to make it so people can see which part came from the CRB and what was the response by the department to the CRB recommendation. So that was brought up as well. And then I think we can move on to the next meeting because then we have more conversation. You're on mute, Peter. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, that's the last of our committee reports, I think, right?
Nope, we have one more. We have the Police Relations Committee, which was the Police Liaison Committee. And we had a meeting just the other day related to that. Who would like to talk about that meeting? Dana?
Which meeting?
Wait, before you say anything, hold on, before you say anything, I'm looking at the agenda for today, so apparently the dates that you have in here in September are for this month, not the ones that you just attended, correct?
Correct. So they are letting you know of the up and coming meetings coming up.
Right.
Okay, for these particular committees, but we did have a meeting, or we did have a, so the police relations meeting that is coming up on September 22nd, that is going to be with myself and Sergeant Russin, Lori, Dana, and Peter, and whoever else can attend, and Amanda Harrington from the law department. And that's when we're going to talk more about the recommendations. We're going to talk more about the numbers again. And if we need to verify that the CRB sent over all the complaints. So that is going to be a conversation that's going to be on September 22nd. But we did have a police liaison committee meeting the other day. And I wanted us to have, so we had that meeting on September the 1st at 1:30. Who would like to talk about that one?
I can do a little bit.
Go ahead, Dana.
I can do a little bit. Unfortunately, I left my notes at home or at work, which is not home. But the one thing that they did talk about, and I don't know the specific numbers, was the body worn cameras and the transition from the cameras that they owned that were part of the program before to what they own. And they really are looking to increase the numbers, and they're going to let us know that they're very, very hopeful that by the end of the year, all the body worn cameras will be out there, but they don't think so. And they also talked some about the shot spotter technology that they said it does really, a question was brought up, is it really that helpful? Is it really that important? And they said yes, and that if no one calls a shots fired incident in, the shots technology help them get there in a more timely manner, help them grab some evidence. And so there was definitely some concern there with the funding and how that was going to go. I think that those were the two biggest things I remember. There was a lot of other conversation about, again, the annual report policy and such, but I thought the body worn camera was the most important takeaway from that. And I don't have my numbers right in front of me, but.
So I'll give you the numbers.
Thank you. I knew you would.
So the numbers are 220. They have a total of 220 new cameras. They have 110 cameras that are the old cameras that they received that need to be swapped out. And they intend to have everybody that's in uniform patrol to have a camera. So as of right now, I think they have deployed 46 new cameras, but that is going to be replacing some of the ones that some people already were outfitted with. And we are looking to, due to COVID, we are looking to have a training related to the body worn cameras in January. And based upon the size of the board, we should be able to do that in their classroom setting at the department, so that we can see what's the difference between the old camera and the new camera, and also do some more training, because we talked about the gang database. And so we're going to talk more about that, because that has been a topic of concern. Lori?
Well, you just took the two things I was going to talk about. But there's, I'm looking through my notes. Yeah, I think the main thing from that was the getting the group together once we have all the board members set up in January, and have that training that we did once before with Mark and Chrissy Joseph. The other thing was that we want to check on, at one point, Mark had come to one of our executive session meetings, and we had some questions about whether that was appropriate, legal, et cetera, et cetera. So we are going to be checking into whether Mark coming to one of our things has to be in a public meeting or if it can be an executive session.
We also talked about ride-alongs.
Yes.
Very briefly, and whether or not the new board members are going to go on a ride-along with the department. And again, based upon COVID, that would be pushed until January as well. And ideally to have the new board members, if there are new board members, to be able to be on board with regard to that. SROs, there was no final decision with regard to school resource officers and their removal in the schools. That had not been determined as of yet. And the list was not, it was the list of people that are considered to be in a gang that we were having a conversation about, and the criteria that creates that list. So that was in there. And
it's interesting to note on that that's based on federal criteria, not SPD criteria.
Yep, and that's 28 CFR 23 is that federal requirement. But again, we're going to have a training session that speaks more in detail with regard to that. We talked about the new app that is going to be provided to the department called Cortico, which is an app that is going to be available on the police officer's cell phone, in which they can utilize it as a way to debrief after a particular incident or things of that nature. And it's spelled just like it sounds, Cortico. And they said that they hope to roll it out within the next 20 days after they put some department required information into that system so that the officers can utilize that. We asked about a civilian academy. There were supposed to be 2 of them during this particular time. And of course, because of COVID, they were not able to do that. If they're, and doing a civilian academy in WebEx or Zoom is really not beneficial. So we are talking about that. I think that probably sums it up. Our next meeting for the Police Liaison Committee is going to be December the 1st. Please write this down. December the 1st at 1:30 is going to be that date. Of course, you'll get a calendar invite, but that is going to be the next date for that. Oh, and we did talk about, if I have a question for Jeff Piedmont, for the union that I should talk directly to Jeff Piedmont at the union. So if you guys have any particular questions, just let me know and I will make that phone call to talk to Officer Piedmont. So we did have that discussion. So I think that sums it up.
I think so.
I believe that wraps up all the board business we have for public session tonight. We have one member of the public here. We have opportunity for public comments. Mr. Spink, do you want to say anything? You have to unmute.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I to explain who I am. So I'm a member of the community of Geneva, New York, and well, first of all, I guess have any of you been following what's going on in Geneva with the proposed police accountability board? Because I don't want to give you any information that you already have. But so essentially, what's happening is that the local Black Lives Matter group, called the People's Peaceful Protest, proposed legislation that would establish a Geneva Police Accountability Board. And so the City Council agreed to consider that law, and they're basically debating it, debating it, and also kind of consulting with the city attorney about like how it needs to be changed. And it's still very much in the early stages, but City Council is going through that process. So the city attorney basically submitted a memorandum saying that he thought that the board, the proposed Geneva board, would be illegal for the most part. And and the reason for that was because the Rochester Police Accountability Board is kind of in litigation right now, and because of course the Rochester board kind of mandates discipline, so it's not a recommendation the way it is here in Syracuse, that basically that the chief of police in Rochester under the Rochester law would have been required to accept the Rochester board Police Accountability Board's discipline. So the police union sued, and so they're in court right now, and that provision, at least by the trial court, has been found unlawful because it kind of interferes with the chief of police's disciplinary power. So proposing in Geneva, so the Geneva city attorney basically said that there's the same problems with the proposed Geneva board. My view, and I am an attorney, and I submitted a kind of my own just sort of unsolicited legal opinion, basically saying I think this is wrong because the Geneva proposal would just be a recommendation for discipline, it would not mandate discipline of officers, the way the Rochester proposal does. So then, I was looking at, the laws, and the proposed Geneva law is very similar to Syracuse, and I think that the people in the Geneva People's Peaceful Protest who worked on drafting it, had looked all over the state and, taken ideas from all. So the Geneva proposal is very similar to Syracuse, and that's why I kind of want to sit in and reach out, because I think that the lessons of Syracuse would be very helpful as Geneva, puts together and debates its own board. And as far as I can tell, I mean, it's, there hasn't been a court declaring your powers unlawful, right? I mean, because you're essentially just, am I correct in saying that you're essentially just making recommendations that are not binding on the chief of police? And okay, so I just want to make sure I understand it correctly. So, and that's really all we want in Geneva. We're not trying to claim broader powers like in Rochester. So we think the city attorney is wrong when, that we're going to be stuck in this litigation and, have our board be declared unlawful. So, I guess that's, why I'm sort of here, is just to kind of, maybe get some input on all this. And, I'm wondering, especially since it doesn't sound like any of you have been contacted from anyone from the Geneva City Council, I'm thinking, that could be a good sort of connection, and maybe kind of make it clear that, that the worries that some of the people have in the Geneva city council and other, might be a little bit overstated, because clearly your board is functioning and, has not been declared invalid by a court and seems to be doing what it was intended to do. And I think that would be helpful. Your model would be helpful for Geneva as we debate ours.
So I'm going to keep this very short because we have to go into executive session and look at cases in a couple of minutes, but I'll make two quick comments. One is that the power of the CRB is not only in its ability to recommend discipline for officers, but also every year we make recommendations for about training, supervision, or evaluation of police officers. And the police department is not required to implement those either, but they do have to look at them. And there are a number of those that have been taken very seriously and at least partially or wholly put into policy by the police department. So that's important. The second comment is that having the CRB's credibility backed up by city government, in our case, that's the mayor and the common council, is very important so that the police department understands that the CRB does have the force, does have credibility and should not be completely ignored. So, some of it's not just what's written in the law and the fact that we can't enforce our recommendations, is not the whole definition of our policy. And I'm sure Renette could say quite a bit more, and we could just take a short time.
So I would also point out the fact that you show your relevancy as well by the community continuing to utilize you. So as you can see with the number of complaints that we receive, the majority of those cases are filed with the CRB. So therefore, it is proven, it's a proven fact that many times the community does not feel comfortable going into the agency or even contacting the agency for which they seek redress from. So being able to provide those numbers to somebody, having a conversation with someone, if they would like to, they can utilize the telephone number that you utilize and reach out to the office, and I'll be willing to have some conversations and break down some things related to that. So if you have any common counselors there that need some clarification on the CRB legislation, if they want to know some information with regard to the day-to-day operations and things of that nature, we're available as a resource. We are paying attention to what's going on in Rochester. Yes, we are looking to see how that comes, but I do think we're making progress when we have the chief to state, as the letter that I read out loud, that they are going to take our recommendations into consideration before he issues discipline. And part of the ordinance says that if he is going to issue some sort of discipline that's different from what the CRB recommends, that he is going to give us a reason. He's going to tell us the reason why. And so I think that, again, as Peter stated, because the mayor currently and the council for the city are saying, hey, you need to work with them, it makes it more relevant for them to work with us. So, and because of the most recent executive order that was signed by the governor saying that, hey, you have to look into the police community relations right now is, a monumental moment for everybody to get on the same page so that we don't have more situations that are occurring. I mean, we only know about the ones that are being publicized, but I'm quite sure, many community members feel that they've been living this nightmare for a lot longer than what we've seen recently with the most recent situation with George Floyd. And then the recent situation that happened in Rochester that the 7 officers were recently suspended on. I'm quite sure many communities feel like this is a day-to-day situation and, are sad to say that it's taken the George Floyd incident to highlight it more. So with that being said, please feel free to reach out to the office. you can talk to us. We can talk more offline related to that. And I thank you for taking the time to listen to our meeting. So at least you can see what we talk about, what we've been up to, and what we're doing. So thank you, Andrew, and thanks for reaching out. And so typically, if someone reaches out to a board member, we're going to do the same process that we just did with you. If we have a meeting coming up, encourage that person to come to the meeting, or if they're going to be directed to contact the CRB office. Board members typically don't make many comments to the media unless we're all together collectively agreeing to do that. And any clarification usually comes from the administrator, which is myself. So thank you, Andrew. And thanks for understanding.
Thank you. Yeah, oh yes, and I would love to talk offline more. And it's just to clarify, I am just a private citizen. I don't have any sort of authority. I'm just very interested in this issue, particularly because I disagreed with the Rochester City Attorney's take on it, because I do think that our proposed board is very similar to yours, and I'm glad to see that it's doing its job and functioning well. And I'd be happy to talk to you more.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks for coming, Andrew.
All right.
Okay, I think it is time to go into executive session because we have cases to discuss tonight. Would someone make a motion to go into executive session? Cynthia has made the motion, and a second from Dana. Okay, so we are now going into executive session. Dana is going to stop the recording. Andrew, thanks for showing up. Have a good evening, and we'll wait a moment while